Hey, folks, I'm back from hiatus, and today I want to talk a little bit about Alberta. Now, for my international friends who may not know so much about what's been going on in Canada and Alberta, a little bit of context and backstory. There's a small minority of Albertans who proudly proclaim themselves Texas North and have much of the same attitudes of Texas. Now, once all the kerfuffle started happening down south with the Orange Overlord, I think a bunch of those loud minority who are also fairly rich started thinking we could make a lot more money if Alberta wasn't part of Canada. They're saying they want to have a separation and be a strong national sovereign country on their own. Personally, I think they figure it's just the first step to being the 51st state, but of course they won't say that. So even though it was nowhere on the radar in the last election campaign, nobody voted for anything on this, they pushed ahead and said, we're going to get a petition. The law allows it. We're going to get a petition to force a vote on, do we want to separate from Canada? First, another petition came up saying, let's stay in Canada, and got, I think, 400,000 signatures, enough to pass the threshold and easily, but no talk of that going on to any kind of a ballot. No, but we are sure fighting hard, or they are sure fighting hard, to get the separation question on the ballot. First of all, it got blocked by Elections Alberta. So Daniela Smith, the UPC Premier of Alberta, who is heavily Maple MAGA, rewrote the law so Elections Alberta had no say. Then the court stepped in and said, no, you can't do that because you haven't consulted with First Nations who own a lot of the land in Alberta. Now, the separatists did not like that, and there's been a lot of complaining about activist judges, where have you heard that before, and how politicians should make the decisions. But in the end, little Danny decided she had the answer. They won't hold a referendum on should Alberta separate. They'll hold a referendum on should they hold a binding referendum on should Alberta separate. I mean, I guess it's an end run around the courts, but it's really very, very bizarre. And frankly, Danny, you might be been a little bit hasty here. Are you sure you don't want to hold a referendum on if you should plan to hold a referendum on holding a referendum?